Dr. S. Jaishankar, a name that makes foreign ministers pause before they speak. A strategist who plays geopolitics like a grandmaster plays chess, 3 moves ahead, always calm, never rattled. When he addresses a room, world leaders don't just listen. They lean forward because they know this man doesn't just represent India. He embodies its resurgence. In Kolkata, he delivered an analysis so powerful, so comprehensive, it became impossible to ignore. He dissected how the United States and China are reshaping world politics, how global supply chains are fragmenting, how trade, energy, and technology have become weapons in a new kind of warfare, how nations are scrambling, hedging their bets, racing for free trade agreements, desperately avoiding choices while the ground shifts beneath their feet. This wasn't a speech. It was a masterclass in understanding the New World Order, where sanctions replace dialogue, where production dominance equals geopolitical leverage, where one-on-one diplomacy has replaced multilateral frameworks, and where every decision carries existential weight. But here's the uncomfortable truth he laid bare, a truth that should make every Indian both angry and hopeful at the same time. What Dr. Jaishankar reveals in his speech will change everything you thought you knew about India's future. And if you believe Dr. Jaishankar is the diplomat India has been waiting for, the voice that finally speaks for a rising nation, then subscribe now, because this conversation is just getting started. Dr. Jaishankar started off by addressing an old saying, the best foreign policy is high economic growth. Sounds simple, right? But is it really that straightforward? Or have we been sold a comfortable lie while the world changed around us? The reality is far more complex and far more urgent. It's not just about growing bigger. It's about growing smarter, about understanding that in today's world, who makes your chips matters as much as how fast your GDP grows. That where your rare earth minerals come from could determine whether your economy survives the next global shock. That connectivity isn't just about roads and ports, it's about power itself. And here's what should terrify and inspire us in equal measure. While India slept through crucial decades of the last century, the world didn't wait. Manufacturing became the true test of a nation's technological soul. Services sound impressive in boardrooms, but it's factories that spread industrial culture, that breed innovation, that transform societies from consumers into creators. So ask yourself this raw question. Why did India miss those decades? Why did policymakers before not see what was blindingly obvious? That a major power without a massive industrial base is just a loud voice in an empty room? The world as we knew it is dying, and what's being born is something far more dangerous, far more fragmented, far more unpredictable. Politics now crushes economics. Think about that. Decisions that once hinged purely on cost now revolve around ownership, security, and control. Where a product is manufactured, who provides a service, these aren't minor details anymore. They're matters of national survival. The era of just-in-time efficiency is over. Welcome to the age of just-in-case caution. De-risking has overridden the logic of efficiency. Globalization hasn't disappeared. It's gone too far to be completely reversed. But powerful counterforces are tearing at its foundations. And make no mistake, these aren't temporary disruptions. This is the new normal, and it's only going to intensify. The rules-based order? Shattered. The United States, once the steady anchor of the global system, has rewritten the terms of engagement completely. Instead of working through international frameworks in multilateral regimes, it's now dealing with nations one-on-one, case-by-case, transactional and unpredictable. Bilateral deals have replaced global agreements. Individual negotiations have replaced collective consensus. China? It always played by its own playbook, but now it's not even pretending to follow anyone else's rules. And it's doing so with even greater assertiveness, even more defiance. And caught between these two giants, the rest of the world faces an impossible choice. Do they watch the visible competition between Washington and Beijing? Or do they try to decode the secret understandings and trade-offs happening behind closed doors? What matters more, the public confrontation or the private deals? Here's where it gets personal for every Indian watching this. Faced with this fragmentation, with supply chain uncertainties, with the gravitational pull of both Washington and Beijing, what is the rest of the world doing? They're hedging. They're avoiding choices where possible. They're making choices only when beneficial. They're exploring alternative partnerships with desperate urgency. Nations are engaging both the United States and China directly while simultaneously building escape routes. They're refusing to pick sides when they can avoid it. They're choosing sides when it benefits them. And most importantly, they're exploring options among themselves with greater urgency than ever before. This is why free trade agreements are suddenly multiplying across geographies. Nations are building backup plans for their backup plans. The enthusiasm for bilateral and regional trade pacts has never been higher. Not because everyone suddenly loves free trade, but because everyone fears being left isolated and vulnerable. But while everyone scrambles for safety, the global landscape keeps shifting beneath their feet. Europe is questioning its strategic assumptions, reassessing its dependence on both American security and Chinese manufacturing. Asia is recalibrating its alliances, caught between economic ties to Beijing and security ties to Washington. The Middle East has transformed overnight, with old certainties dissolved and new alignments emerging. Africa's growth potential is finally being recognized as more than charity, it's seen as strategic necessity. Latin America, once considered too distant to matter, is suddenly full of opportunities as geography becomes less relevant in a digital, connected world. And here's the statistic that should make every Indian sit up. 1/3 of all global manufacturing now happens in China. One nation. 1/3 of everything made on Earth. This concentration has exposed just how fragile, how unreliable, how vulnerable global supply chains truly are. It's put an unforgiving spotlight on resilience and reliability. When conflicts erupt, when climate disasters strike, when political winds shift, entire economies can collapse overnight because they depend on factories located in a single country. The energy landscape has undergone a revolution that few anticipated. The United States transformed from massive energy importer to significant exporter of fossil fuels. Meanwhile, China dominates the world of renewable energy, solar panels, wind turbines, batteries. The same nation that controls manufacturing also controls the future of clean energy. Supply chains face dual threats: disruption from conflicts and climate events on the supply side, demand uncertainty on the other. Tariff rates now swing wildly, creating volatility that terrifies businesses and destroys long-term planning. The salience of tariff rates to trade prospects has made the global economy feel like gambling rather than strategy. In finance, the weaponization has begun. Sanctions applied prolifically, assets seized from sovereign nations, blockchain technologies emerging as alternatives to dollar dominance. These aren't theoretical discussions anymore. They're reshaping how money moves across borders, how nations protect their wealth, how economic warfare is conducted without firing a single shot. And then there's the earthquake nobody's fully prepared for. Artificial intelligence advancing toward artificial general intelligence. The mother of all technological revolutions is here, right now at our doorstep. And with it comes a brutal competition for natural resources, rare earth minerals and critical materials that will determine which nations lead the AI revolution and which nations become obsolete. Even connectivity, the physical wiring of the world, is being reimagined. The hard infrastructure designed by imperial powers to serve colonial interests is finally being replaced. While some of this transformation is organic and market-driven, much of it carries strategic intent. The concept of dual-purpose connectivity, infrastructure that serves both economic and military goals, is challenging every orthodox assumption about development and cooperation. And let's talk about something India understands better than most: talent mobility. The flow may be driven by technology's demands, but it's made possible by decades of globalization. And it's not just people moving anymore, it's the work itself being relocated through global capability centers. Companies are setting up operations where the talent is, rather than forcing talent to relocate. Demographics matter too. Aging societies need foreign talent just to maintain basic social services, let alone grow their economies. Technology, economics, and population pressures are converging. The result? The world is preparing for a truly global workforce. The question is, will India supply that workforce, or will India need it? So how does India navigate this treacherous new world? With a strategy so clear it can be summarized in three objectives: advance comprehensive national power, reduce vulnerabilities, promote influence. The last two, reducing vulnerabilities and promoting influence, clearly constitute the core of diplomatic activities. But even when it comes to increasing comprehensive national power, diplomacy plays an active role, not a passive one. This is done by facilitating technology transfer, making manufacturing easier through regulatory support, shaping external sentiment about investing in India, changing perceptions from risk to opportunity, opening foreign markets for Indian producers, creating work opportunities for Indian talent abroad, ensuring steady, predictable access to critical resources from global suppliers. As India rises, as the economy expands, the nation must shoulder greater responsibilities. And here's the truth that was ignored for too long. A major power, especially one with India's aspirations, must have a significant industrial base. This wasn't accepted by policymakers before 2014. The idea that India needed massive manufacturing capacity was somehow controversial, somehow optional, somehow secondary to services. That mindset has changed. Promoting industrial growth, incentivizing it, celebrating it, this is now a core economic priority. Make in India isn't a slogan. It's a declaration of strategic intent over the last decade. It signals a different mindset, a greater ambition, a refusal to accept second-tier status. But for this vision to become reality, industry must think beyond quarterly profits. It must wholeheartedly partner with this vision and look beyond the short term. It must help build domestic supply chains, even while integrating into global ones. As these roots strengthen, Make in India is being reinforced by research in India, innovate in India, design in India. Can the lost decades of the last century be fully recovered? Can all those missed opportunities be reclaimed? No, but there's enormous scope to catch up in selected domains. And simultaneously, attention is being paid to advanced technologies and advanced manufacturing, ensuring India doesn't perpetually lag behind. The focus areas are clear: chips and semiconductors, electric vehicles and batteries, drones and space technology, nanotech and bioscience. Each represents an opportunity to leapfrog, to establish unique capabilities, to move from follower to leader. This is why they feature so strongly in government policy support today. In foreign affairs, success is being measured by specific metrics. Technology and trade are among the key performance indicators, along with tourism. These three T's represent how seriously diplomacy takes economic objectives. The focus of diplomatic missions on constantly exploring opportunities and solving problems in these domains reflects this seriousness. Indian diplomats aren't just attending conferences, they're actively facilitating deals, removing obstacles, creating pathways for Indian businesses and talent. For all of this to happen, it became imperative to rectify the shortcomings in infrastructure. This was the crucial differentiator with more successful Asian economies, the gap that explained why they surged ahead while India stagnated. But in recent years, that gap is narrowing, and it's narrowing before everyone's eyes. Highways, railways, aviation, ports, energy, power. India is advancing by any global standard, and the world is taking note, not with polite acknowledgement, but with genuine surprise and accelerating investment. Getting the India story to investors is a responsibility taken very seriously in diplomatic routine. That involvement sometimes extends to handholding on important projects, ensuring they don't get lost in bureaucracy or regulatory confusion. Yet physical infrastructure is only half the battle. The enabling environment for entrepreneurship matters just as much. Making it easier to do business has been a consistent refrain over the last decade. Abolishing outdated rules, simplifying compliance procedures, limiting discretionary powers, encouraging deregulation. Simultaneously, a determined effort is underway to improve ease of living for average citizens. This is reflected in more efficient administration and better governance. But the true game changer? Digital public infrastructure. It has not only facilitated optimal resource utilization and drastically reduced leakage and corruption, It has also expanded the reach of social welfare measures to corners of the nation previously unreachable. The role of digitally enabled governance in India's transformation cannot be overstated. The numbers tell a story of transformation that once seemed impossible. Nutrition support for two-thirds of the population, health facilities for more than half, mass-scale social housing, benefit schemes reaching farmers directly, unprecedented financial inclusion bringing hundreds of millions into the formal economy. None of this could have happened without the digital backbone. And significantly, these achievements are gaining increasing recognition abroad. India has started partnering with the Global South on similar initiatives, sharing not just technology, but an entire development model. A crucial consequence of these developments, the human resources sector finally getting the attention it has long deserved. It starts at the bottom of the pyramid. Far more effective delivery of basic needs including nutrition, health, housing, connectivity. As literacy and education rates improve across society, there are direct implications for workforce quality. Educational institutions have doubled in the last decade. Doubled. Yet everyone recognizes there's much more work to be done. Skills enhancement has become a focus in itself, both as policy priority and ground reality. Whether in education or skills training, there's much to be gained through international collaboration. India has consequently been active in assisting foreign universities and skills institutions to establish collaborative or independent presence in India. The initial results are already visible. As international demand for talent and skills increases across professions, India is positioned better than ever to meet it. Addressing the needs of the global workplace is a major diplomatic goal. It's reflected in the mobility agreements reached with many countries, formal frameworks that make it easier for Indian professionals to work abroad. But there's a deeper responsibility. As more Indians venture into the world, they must be armed with greater confidence. Their welfare must be ensured, whether through evacuation from conflict situations or the manner in which they were cared for during the COVID pandemic. These actions send a powerful message to citizens who go out into the world. India has your back. Power has a comprehensive definition. So does security. Nations, especially large ones, need reassurance across multiple dimensions: energy security, food security, health security, even fertilizer security. This means ensuring smooth functioning of supply chains, negotiating long-term arrangements and understandings, building strategic partnerships that can withstand global shocks. The COVID pandemic tested this framework when it came to vaccines. The Ukraine conflict impacted energy access. In both cases, by securing vaccine ingredients and accessing additional energy and fertilizer sources, India demonstrated that responsive foreign policy can indeed deliver for every citizen. These weren't abstract diplomatic victories. They were concrete protections of national interests, ensuring vaccines reached people, ensuring energy kept flowing, ensuring farmers got fertilizer. In an uncertain world, continuous diversification of supply sources isn't optional. It's essential to guarantee national needs. With these considerations in mind, India is endeavoring to forge new trade arrangements and promote fresh connectivity initiatives. While they represent key policy priorities, they also speak to the importance the world now attaches to ties with India. As India ascends the global economic hierarchy, the case for these partnerships will only strengthen. But these exercises have long-term repercussions. They must be embarked upon with great judiciousness and careful judgment. When it comes to trade, India will naturally be guided by a people-centric vision, ensuring agreements benefit citizens, not just corporations. Connectivity plans will be shaped by strategic considerations as well as economic ones. Understanding that infrastructure isn't neutral, that it creates dependencies and leverage. So let's come back to where we started, to that remarkable moment in Kolkata. Dr. S. Jaishankar laid out a vision that should make every Indian feel two things simultaneously: frustration at decades wasted and hope for decades ahead. He dissected the New World Order with surgical precision, the United States dealing nation by nation instead of through global frameworks, China dominating production and renewables, supply chains fragmenting, energy politics transforming, sanctions becoming weapons, nations hedging, avoiding choices, racing for new agreements, the rise of risks that previous generations never imagined. This wasn't just analysis. It was a roadmap through chaos. The world is fragmenting. Rules are breaking. Power is shifting. And in this chaos, India isn't just surviving, it's positioning itself to thrive. The industrial base is being built. Infrastructure is transforming before our eyes. Digital governance is setting global standards. Human capital is being developed at unprecedented scale. Supply chains are being secured. Diplomatic leverage is growing. The three T's, technology, trade, tourism, are being actively pursued. Foreign policy is delivering concrete results for citizens. This isn't propaganda. It's measurable reality. But reality also demands honesty. The competition is brutal. The challenges are immense. The margin for error is thin. Nations that hesitate will be left behind. Nations that act decisively will shape the future. India stood at the crossroads before and chose wrong. Decades were lost. Opportunities vanished. Potential remained just that. Potential. Not this time. This time, the vision is clear. The strategy is comprehensive. The execution is relentless. The world is watching not with pity, but with respect. Not with sympathy, but with serious interest. Because when a nation of 1.4 billion people decides to stop apologizing for its ambitions and start realizing them, when it builds factories and chips and rockets and digital infrastructure, when it feeds its poor and educates its children and exports its talent, when it negotiates from strength instead of pleading from weakness, when it understands that manufacturing matters more than services for building true power, when it recognizes that comprehensive security means energy, food, health, and fertilizer, when it uses diplomacy not just to talk, but to deliver for every citizen, the entire global order has to adjust. That adjustment is happening now, in real time, in Kolkata and beyond. And India finally is driving it rather than reacting to it. So here's the question every Indian must answer. Will you be part of the generation that finally fulfills the promise of this ancient civilization? Or will you watch from the sidelines as history is written without you? The choice, as made crystal clear in the Kolkata masterclass, has never been more urgent. And the opportunity has never been greater. The world is changing. The United States is dealing one-on-one. China is dominating production. Supply chains are fracturing. Nations are scrambling. Risks are multiplying. And India? India is rising. Not begging, not apologizing. Rising. The only question is, are you ready?